Smoke's pretty bad. How you doing? Nope, my name's not Klaus. I'm the lawnmower lady, and I like fixing small engines. Today's video is on this little Husqvarna 128 CD. It's a curved shaft trimmer, and I hate to admit, I really don't know what's wrong with it. You see, a friend brought it to me at the end of last season, and I failed to write down the problem. So we'll be figuring this out together. So let's look at the fuel and the fuel filter. It actually looks pretty good, but I'm going to swap out this fuel anyway. It's kind of stale. No water or contaminants in the fuel, it looks like. But I'm going to put some fresh fuel in here. Circulate that a few times. Choke on. Sort of wants to start. Let it warm up a second. Smoke's pretty bad. And it doesn't run very smooth. And it's smoking from the muffler. So despite all the smoke coming out of the muffler, it's still looks like it's running pretty good to me. That's certainly not a rich plug. Plenty of compression. And a perfectly clean, looks like a brand new air filter. So my thoughts are the easy place to start is the spark arrestor. And this is a T25. It's curious that the spark plug is so light colored, but there's all the smoke coming out. And there is a little bit of two-stroke coming out of here, but you know, that spark arrestor screen is actually very clear. So clean that up and put it back together. So I think, unfortunately, having to go into the carburetor is going to be what's required here. There's a screw over here on this side. Next are the two 8mm nuts holding on the back of the air box. Let me not drop that nut down there. Choke closed. There we go. And this air box should slip right off of there. Fuel lines actually look good. They look like they've been replaced recently. I don't think I did that. And the purge bulb. It's a little yellow looking, but seems to be working just fine. I'm going to pull off the carb, but need to pull off the throttle cable, and there's a little guide that just pulls right off. Lift that out and pull the throttle cable. There we go. And the carb should pop right off of here. There we go. This gasket's in good shape. So before I get too far along, I do want to pressure test this carb, so I'm going to remove the fuel intake. There we go. Oops, and I forgot to release pressure. Yeah, that always happens. And now we're going to purge all the rest of the fuel out of the carb. I want to try to avoid opening this carb up. Well, this will just tell me where I need to go. This is the pressure line from my little homemade pressure tester. And I'm going to pump this up to 7 psi and see if it holds pressure. That tells me that the needle seat is working just fine. And as you can see, I went up to about 9 pounds, but I can pump out some of that. There you go. That should hold there, and then that tells me that the needle and seat is good, and then I'll check the purge valve right here. Yep, and it is purging and holding. And the last thing that I can test for, if I need to, but I don't see any reason to at this point, is if the check valve works on the purge. So I'm going to pump that. And so far, all the needle seat, purge valve, and all that stuff seems to work just fine because it's pressurizing and holding. So time to go into the carb and I guess look for dirty intake screen, or perhaps a bad fuel pump or a bad pump diaphragm. So I really don't want to be buying another one of these heat shield gaskets, because I don't have any. So I'm going to very carefully try to get this off without damaging it. And despite my best efforts, I might be having to buy a new gasket here. Well, I don't know, maybe some gasket maker on the back side can fix that. This remains to be seen. So I've sprayed off the outside of this with some brake cleaner. I'm going to start on the purge bulb side. Remove these 2 screws. And I probably have one of these purge bulbs, so I'll probably go ahead and replace the bulb because it's looking kind of yellow looking. And then the pump comes off. Sort of looks all right in there. And the intake screen, sure enough, has a fair amount of dirt in there. Wow. That's just a whole furry booger right there. But I do want to get this screen out. There we go. It's a really fine mesh screen, but I think I can clean that out just fine. The other side is the pump diaphragm side. Pop this guy off of here. And this is sort of wrinkled and crunchy looking. I can go ahead and replace that. The gasket looks in good shape. Going to try to remove the needle valve and seat without damaging that gasket, though I might have some extras. There we go. Spring, lever. I really want to get that needle valve out because I want to run carb spray through here. And I don't want to do that. There we go. Our testing with the pressure tester said that was in good shape. So fuel pump is actually in okay shape. The fuel valves themselves are not bent and out of shape. So I think that just some carb spray is going to take care of everything here, getting that all cleaned out. I see no reason to send this to the ultrasonic cleaner since this was sort of working. So just a little bit of spray in all the orifices. Make sure it goes in one side, comes out the other. This screen, really want to try to spray him. Make sure he's good and clean. He's just scooting around there. So we can get him to hold still there. Take him out. And then the carb itself, just shoot through basically squirt one side and you ought to be seeing it coming out another. There we go. And hopefully a good cleaning is all that we needed here. All right, going to start putting this together. All this is dried out. Start with the fuel inlet screen. He fits in there. And you can get an appropriate size punch. This happens to be a 15/64 drill bit. Make sure that gets all the way down in there and not crooked. And it's not sticking up there. The pump is fine, I believe. And you probably have to push the throttle out of the way to get that in place. All right, so that's on there. Next is another purge bulb. This color means it's not too long for this world. Put this guy on here, like so. And the two larger screws. Onto the pump diaphragm side. You want to make sure the needle seat is clean. Remember, we already tested that. Drop him in there. Then the next thing is to set the spring in place. This is pretty fiddly, but the spring has to go on that little notch sticking out on the bottom. And then the pin has to seat in there, and then this goes under. It's a little fiddly. See if I can do this in one take. Everything, I think I got it all in one take there. Next is the screw that holds the hinge pin in. Make sure that's good and tight. Now Zama makes a little tool. This is a 1C1Q carburetor, and this allows you to test the height of the arm there, but unfortunately, because the gasket is still on here, this is going to be inaccurate. But normally, I don't know, by my eye, it looks to me like it is. What's lacking there looks to be about the thickness of this gasket, so I'm going to leave that as is. Now, the majority of all these little carburetors take one of 3 or 4 basic pump diaphragms. I buy them in bulk, and I haven't had a lot of problem with these before. This particular one, what you have to be mindful of is the thickness of that guy sticking out right there on the end. That's what actuates against the lever, and that has to be the same. So this will work perfect. There's a locating pin right there, which goes in that hole right there. And these final 2 screws. Hopefully, this is going to fix the problem. And the last thing I'm going to do, since I reused the gaskets, is I'm going to drop this in a jar of gasoline. You can do this in water, but I have the gasoline, and I'm going to pump some pressure in here. Again, going up to basically 5 or 6 psi. And there is no air bubbling out of any of those gaskets. That's good. And purge that out. And move that to the purge side. And again, pressure that side up. about 5 or 7 psi. And once again, there are no air bubbles in and around the gasket. So we should be good to go. So as much as this pains me to do this, this gasket actually is like $15, $16 shipped, and I was able to clean the face off. I'm going to use, and still has most of its parts here. I'm going to use, this is a Hylamar gasket and joint compound. This is non-hardening, so hopefully this will fill in all the gaps, and worst case, I will buy the right one, but if this fixes the problem, I'm going to leave it as is. Just a light smear on those parts where the gasket is damaged, and the Hylamar should fill in any gaps. Ready to put this back on. So the first thing is to get these fuel lines back on here. It's kind of awkward to do while holding this gasket in place. Our gasket is still lined up. Going to hook in the throttle cable, feed this onto the studs carefully, set the throttle in place, throttle cable thingy, and the key to getting this little guy on here is you have to lift the carb up slightly, not all the way off, and then he will fit on there. Then the carb holds that in. Check the throttle. It's working fine. And next is to fit on the airbox. These two 8mm nuts. Don't know what the torque is, but just, I'm not overdoing it. Choke flap is free. Throttle's working. So let's fire it up. All right, there's fuel coming in there. That's good. Choke on. And see if this will fire up. There we go. Give it a good chance to warm up. I'm going to see if I can't trim up this just a little bit. Got the idle right around 2800. The head is not moving. About 7600. So according to the Googles, the idle speed is 2750 and the maximum RPM is 8,000 right there. And here's what I wound up with: minimum 2630 and 7750. So I think we're good to go. So a little bit of carb service on there. Clean that intake screen. That was bad. A new pump diaphragm. I know they're aftermarket parts, but hey, you can still find some good ones out there. And I think maybe the guy that owns it could have put the wrong fuel mixture in there. He runs Lambrettas at 3%, and that's what, 32 to 1. That could be probably what the smoking was all about. If you like the video, push the like button. Helps the channel out a whole lot. And if you want to see how I made that little homemade pressure tester, you can watch this video here. Remember, I'm the Lawnmower Lady. Mow happy.